You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. It's Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com. There you go. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. There are these things that makes it official. Welcome to the big show. As always, the Chris Voss Show has been here for over 16 years and 2,300 episodes, and you guys keep making us make more. Like, what the hell? We're tired already. We want to take a nap. Anyway, guys, refer the show to your family, friends, and relatives. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss1 on the TikTok, and all those crazy places on the internet. We have an amazing young lady on the show. We're going to be talking about some of her consulting, some of the different things she does. She's also a contributing author to the book She Built It, Inspiring Strategies and Stories for Women in Business. And that came out September 26, 2024, with a multitude of authors in it. And we'll get into all of her deets and lessons you can learn from her on how to make your lives better. And if you don't, well, or else we'll come back there, pull the car and come back there. Suzanne Rath is going to join us. She is a speaker, executive health and leadership coach, and award-winning leader in specializing in high performance, endurance, leadership, and sustained success. With a background as a physiotherapist and a business owner, she is firsthand experienced in overcoming burnout, chronic fatigue, and relentless demands of leadership. Her mission is to help high performers, executives, business owners, and leaders reclaim their energy, sharpen their focus, and lead with vitality. She blends science-backed health strategies with real-world leadership insights, empowering professionals to thrive in high-pressure environments. She's the founder of multiple allied health practices and a coach to leaders and business owners. She speaks on sustainable high-performance, resilience, and the power of endurance in leadership, drawing on lessons from both business and endurance sports. Welcome to the show. How are you, Suzanne?
I'm great. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. Give us your .coms. Where do you want people to find you on the interwebs in the sky?
Yeah, so I'm on suzannerath.com.au. I can also be found on LinkedIn and all the good socials.
There you go. So give us an overview of what's inside this book. Tell us what this book's about. She Built It.
So She Built It is an anthology of female leaders. It was curated by a good friend and former mentor of mine, Angela Cedrin, who brought together women with really unique stories of how they succeeded in business, how they succeeded in leadership. So mine tells a lot of my personal story and a lot of my background and how I guess Suze 2.0 evolved, which is where I set up my clinics business on the basis of having had a life-changing accident, having rehabilitated myself, gathered a team around me from having had a broken jaw and mild traumatic brain injury. Oh, no. But having that big vision that, number one, I was going to get back to where I was before and do the things I wanted to do, which included running the Boston Marathon. And two, that I was going to build a clinic space that I would like to go to.
Oh,
so that's, yeah.
So tell us about your life's journey and some of these things that you overcame and how you navigated your way through them.
Yeah, so I speak a lot on endurance leadership. And what I do with that is I parallel the stories of endurance athletes and the lessons from endurance athletes with success in business and in life. And so when I look at, so behind me, I've got a huge amount of participation medals from crazy endurance sports. So everything from road marathons to half Ironman to cycling across South America. But I'm a very ordinary athlete, right? Like I'm not going to represent Australia anytime soon, but the lessons that has given me, and on reflection, I look back and I see, well, actually I've done a number of marathons in my life. So one of them was moving to Australia. I moved to Australia from Ireland 13 years ago. I had worked in quite high performance sport in Ireland, and essentially I was starting again, building a life in Sydney, building a lot of creative outlets, building a friends group. And at the point when I just had built that up, I then got hit by a car and ended up with this ongoing symptoms, which I later diagnosed as a post-concussion syndrome. And this whole myriad of things, from a constant headache to chronic fatigue to concentration issues. So things that people can't see. And I pulled myself out of that over a period of 2 years because I was determined this wasn't going to be my reality. I was diagnosed with an adjustment disorder, which basically means that you're struggling to adjust to your reality after a trauma or an accident. And here's the thing, I was struggling to adjust because I wasn't really willing to accept that. So I had this big vision to get back to where I was. And the next step then was moving to Cairns, setting up my clinic business from scratch, scaling that, and then moving on to this next iteration of my life, which is in speaking and coaching.
There you go. And what sort of work did you do when you say you set up your business and practice and things of that nature?
Yeah, so my background's as a physiotherapist. So I wanted to set up the clinical space that I would want to go to. So a space that embraced holistic healthcare, that embraced preventative medicine, where we thought outside the box, where we treated the whole person, not just a body part. So I wanted that multidisciplinary one-stop shop. And I got there over a period of the last 8 years. Like, I've been the Cairns Businesswoman of the Year. We've won multiple other awards. And a couple of years ago, I realized that actually I'd achieved that vision for the clinics.
Oh, wow.
And then it became about designing my ideal role within the clinics. So 3 years ago, I sat down, I wrote a letter to myself and what I would love my role to be like. And it was very much as that visionary, big picture thinker, strategy, but not managing the little day-to-day things. So not being involved in every little decision, not being stuck in the weeds, and not pandering to absolutely everyone. So I really had to have a clear vision of where I wanted to go with that. And over the space of the 3 years since I wrote that down, I've gotten to that space where I've built that role that's energized me. The clinics are ticking away really nicely. And we always are open to looking at services and things like that that will really enhance the lives of our community and enhance the lives of Far North Queensland. So last year we brought in mild hyperbaric oxygen therapy, which is awesome. Lots of people doing great work with that in the US. But for me, it was always about that boutique service. So it was never about franchising. It was never about just putting more bums on seats. It was about having really high quality whole person care. And so anything that adds to that vision goes in, and anything that doesn't stays out.
There you go. Well, it's important to have these things lined up correctly. And so tell us about some of the ways you help your clients and help people. I know you do some speaking, but what are some things people are coming to you, they're having problems with, they're having issues with, et cetera, et cetera?
So a big thing I see is around energy management. And the energy management really has 3 major quadrants. So I work with a lot of women who own businesses, who are over 35, and they've hit this pinnacle of their career, and they're looking around thinking, well, is this it? You know, I thought this would be different. Often they're still stuck in the weeds. They're still trying to keep everybody happy. They feel guilty if they step out of the business. They feel guilty when they're not with their kids. They feel guilty when they're not with their parents. And so there's this constant almost managing of lives rather than leading of lives. And this is where that 3 part structure comes in. We need to look at how we build energy in our roles and in our businesses. We need to look at how we build high performance health habits. And we need to look at how we build energizing lives. And that's everything from our boundaries and our resourcefulness to our relationships and the quality of our relationships.
Mm-hmm. Can you give us an example of what it means to build energy? Because I need some.
Yeah, energy is like a bank account, right? So you think very intentionally about when you're making deposits into it and when you're taking energy out. And so it really involves this intentional look at how you are investing your time and the relationships, what you're putting into your body, the type of work that you're doing. And what was really interesting for me was I had grown to be really good at a lot of work that I was doing in the clinic space. But when I looked into genius zones and strengths and things like that, I was spending 80% of my time doing work that was really de-energizing. So instead of being up here in this big picture thinking ideas zone, I was down in the trying to get people together around ideas and help them on their terms zone, which is my zone of burnout. So I think if we can really get clear on the work that we love and the things that we love to do and get more of those, we're making those deposits into our energy bank.
There you go. Make deposits in the energy bank. I deposit a lot of coffee and espresso all day long, so I get the caffeine deposit.
That's what a lot of people do, right? Like, and then alcohol to calm them down at night.
No, don't do the alcohol. I did that for 20 years, so
yeah,
I'm not doing that. So there you go. So there's a lot that goes into managing and taking care of ourselves. You mentioned that a lot of females you work with, one of the troubles they have is balancing family, work, being an entrepreneur. Of course, you feel like you need to be in your office 24/7, or even if you aren't, you're thinking about it 24/7. I mean, I used to just explicitly dream business. There was a point in my life where I was dreaming what I was going to do the next day, who was going to fire, what meetings I was going to have. I would literally dream my next day. Like, I knew what was coming the next day. It's not like I would, it was some sort of weird thing. But, no, I was just like, I need to find that person tomorrow. And I have dreams about firing them and meetings that I would have. And I'd have dreams about those. And I'd just be like, can I just dream about, I don't know, something that doesn't have to do with freaking business?
Yeah.
And so, a lot of people get into this and they're really struggling with the aspects of that. Now, there's one thing we want to promote. You're also hosting or helping host a retreat. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So in combination with Angela Cedrin, who, as I mentioned, co-authored the book, we are hosting Renaissance in Rome. So that is in September, the 5th to the 13th. This is actually Jubilee year in Rome. So it's a really great opportunity. We have got a organizer on the ground who lives in Rome. It's actually Angela's cousin. So we're going to get a lot of inside knowledge in terms of where we eat and the tours we do. And it's going to be really nicely balanced with business strategy, leadership, and well-being. And the purpose is really for women to come to gain clarity on their next steps. They leave with a 90-day profit plan, but also to gain clarity on what really lights them up and energizes them so that they have that success and that self-actualization.
You got to have the energy refill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thinking time.
Energy refill over here. Here's my cup. Just kidding. Energy is a big part of it. Making sure you're not. One thing that a lot of people and entrepreneurs are bad at is delegating. And it sounds like you were mentioning earlier about how you're trying to do some stuff. You're trying to do some tasks that you weren't excited to do. And I think in that sort of case, to preserve your energy, it's better to find somebody who's maybe better at that, or
absolutely,
to somebody who can handle it, so you don't have to. Because there's things I do out through my day. There's work pieces, and I'm like, somebody else should do this because I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And it's if you got to do it, your brain just sits there and goes, "This is so tedious. This is such a waste of my time," right? And there's a lot of negative self-talk behind it. At least it is just me. I don't know. I don't live.
And those things add up, right? Like those little 5 or 10-minute tasks or answering the questions, like they really add up.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Like, my wife and kids want to talk to me, and I'm like, seriously? Is there somebody else that could do this? So, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just doing a joke. Yeah. That's a good idea for having a polygamous marriage where you have multiple husbands. Because then you're like, hey, can you go talk to the wife? Because I don't want to get in trouble. And then after that, can you go talk to the kids? And I'm going to play some video games here. People starting to figure out in the audience why I'm not married. With kids, without kids. So there you go. So their retreat sounds like a lot of fun. It's going to be held in Rome. Rome's a beautiful country there.
It's going to be stunning. And yeah, having that inside knowledge, being there in the Jubilee year as well will be really special. And I think, for me, carving out thinking time is so important. I create a lot of thinking time so that I can visualize what's next. So I build that resourcefulness. And so I'm really clear on the next steps. I think often as entrepreneurs, like you said, we're just running from one thing to the next. So we're reacting rather than being proactive.
I plan my screwing around time pretty much all the time. So I'm like, that's what I do. I plan everything. I'm like, what are you going to do this weekend, Chris? Just sit and play video games in my underwear and drink, sit naked in my lounger couch and eat Cheetos all the time. So I'll just be covered in a yellow dust. Cheeto
Whatever floats your boat.
Yep, whatever floats your boat. So that's my weekends. At least Fridays. So there you go. People really struggle with owning their own business. Do you mostly work with women?
I think women tend to struggle a lot more with guilt. So I've worked with both men and women, but mindset is such a huge part of this. And actually part of what we're doing in Rome is enabling women to step up to that next level. I know that at points in my life when I've switched from having an employee mindset to a business owner mindset, when I've switched from having a, business owner mindset to a director mindset, when I've switched to having a coaching mindset, all of those things have been big step ups, and I've needed different people around me. And I've really needed to change my mindset so I don't get dragged back in to the other things, because we can be really good at doing something, but as you mentioned, it's not either necessary for where we're going or it's not what energizes us. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it can grind you down, man. I remember through my companies getting ground down for stuff and not delegating, not I'm like, I can do this better, et cetera, et cetera. And so, where do you, with keynote speaking, do you speak all over the world, I guess?
Yes, I'm mostly Australia at the moment, but I certainly have the capacity to speak all over the world. And I obviously am Irish originally, so I have that very diverse, I guess, outlook on things. We have a really diverse team and work too. And, often that diversity of opinion, I think across countries, though, we deal with really similar issues in terms of productivity and employee engagement and all of those things. So, yeah.
Ireland to Australia seems like I don't know. It seems kind of normal. Didn't everyone from Britain?
It's quite common.
Quite common, yeah. There you go. Except there's a lot of crazy things that can kill you on the Australian thing there. The spiders and the lions, the tigers, the bears, and the alligators. And
crocodiles. We call them crocodiles.
Yeah, crocodiles.
Yeah.
You got crocodiles, and you got. I don't know. I don't discern between crocodiles and alligators. I'm running from either one of them. I see one of those, I'm out. I'm
same.
Sprinting the other way. I'm not even going to try and figure out, are you a crocodile or an alligator?
Yeah.
Both seem to have teeth, and they're very big teeth.
Well, they roll you with the death roll.
Oh yeah, I've seen stuff on that, and I'm just like, wow, yeah, the death roll. That sounds like the first 7 divorces I had. Anyway, so that joke never gets old. What have we talked about that you offer and help people with what you do in the work with them?
What? Sorry.
What have we talked about? What have I missed? Is there anything I've missed that we want to tease out to people to get to know you better and work with you?
Yeah. So I think, going back to the idea of that marrying that health and that leadership piece, a lot of really common health programs now and workplace well-being programs and so on, they actually miss the leadership and they miss the boundaries and the resilience building. And those pieces are so important because I think as business owners, we've got so many things, like so many irons in the fire. And somebody coming in and saying, oh, well, you need to meditate, or you need to eat better, or you need to do this, it just becomes another thing to our list of things to do. What we actually need to develop are not just those health habits that fit into our day and actually energize us, but also that laser focus. So this goes back to that endurance athlete model. The laser focus, the big vision, the ability to navigate towards that one vision. Because you don't see a lot of marathon runners that are like, oh yeah, I might just go off and play pickleball as well professionally, right? Like, it's that laser focus that we all need to learn from, but also little things like how to adequately use recovery so that we show up with fresh minds, with fresh thinking, so we can actually lead rather than managing. And
Can
then
you tease out a little bit what recovery looks like?
yeah. So big key point for me is the scheduling of breaks and intentional breaks. So a lot of people think recovery or self-care is like, oh, I'll go to the spa, or I'll take like a golfing weekend, right? And then I'll come back and I'll work 70 hours a week and I'll never take a break. I can work really long hours and be really energized, but in the day, I have 2 to 3 main types of breaks that I take. And one of them is a piccolo break. And that's not because I always have a piccolo, but it's like a 3 to 5 minute break where I'm just really intentional about, instead of between big tasks going, oh, I'll quickly check my emails, I'll quickly book a flight. I close my eyes, I walk outside, I go and make a cup of tea, I pat the dogs. So I deliberately give myself that brain break and that break from that visual stimuli. And the research on these proper taking of breaks shows an increase of productivity of over 20%. So that's the seller for me, right? That's the reason for me to finish my block of one task that I've time blocked and to take that intentional 5-minute break. And then you've got your longer sort of lunch, like your reset. And generally for me, I would take about half an hour. I'll just change my surroundings. Again, I try and get out in nature, but I'm very, very intentional with what I do with that time. And so when my phone's away, my phone's away. When I'm not in work, I'm not in work. But when I'm in work, I'm present and I'm focused on those core tasks that I've actually diarized to do.
There you go. Being focused really helps. I used to do a thing in the morning where I do it during the summers and when it's warm. But there used to be this thing where you would go out in the sun, get your vitamin D, kind of wander through nature, get some peace, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, taking breaks and trying to reset, keep your mind clear and everything. I mean, it can really make all the difference in the world when it comes down to it, really. No. So anything more we need to touch on or tease out about what you're doing before we go?
No, I obviously, for conference and professional speaking bookings, I can be contacted via my LinkedIn and can present online or in person. And otherwise, yeah, love to chat further about high performance coaching and Renaissance in Rome.
There you go. So people can reach out to you. They can set up calls, all that sort of good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go. Well, thank you very much for coming to the show, Suzanne. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
There you go. And thanks, our audience, for tuning in. Order up the book wherever fine books are sold. It is She Built It, Inspiring Strategies and Stories for Women in Business. And you can reach out to Suzanne for her Rome. Nice way to get into a beautiful city. I mentioned earlier the country of Rome. I should have said Italy is the country, but I'm sure someone will send me. Like, what are you, a dummy?
I thought that was intentional.
Some stuff just flops out of my mouth, people, and it's not that I'm dumb. It's just that I'm dumb. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you guys next time.